What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. What's up, y'all, and welcome back. You already know what it is. This is the official, self-titled official review of none other than Sliders. Yeah. So this is Stumbling Through the Multiverse podcast. And we are back. We're on episode 5 of season 2. Now, before getting into this, Robert, do we know if this is actually episode 5?
Yeah, I do think going forward, the episode numbering is correct.
Okay.
So it was just that first season where Fox was like, you know what, these nerds gonna watch it anyways. It doesn't matter.
Crazy. It is the first season.
First season.
That's all right. That's some
self-sabotaging type of ish,
man. Right? That's definitely, that is the redhead stepchild, the black sheep of the family. That is that's crazy. I mean, made it, I don't know, choose your own adventure, I guess.
Is that what it was?
Shit. Oh man, but no, we're back. So we've been going strong. If you're new here, check out the past episodes. If this is the one you started on, I mean, that's cool too. I am Rain Coleman, your co-host, and happy to be here. And of course, I have none other than the man, the mastermind behind the Stumbling Through the Multiverse himself, Robert. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Just as always, happy to be along for the slide. I like this stuff. Dad jokes, and I'm not a dad.
Dad jokes. That is okay. Yes, dad jokes. So we are on season 2, episode 5. This is El Cid. El Cid. Which, again, I do not read the descriptions before watching an episode. I did see the title. I was like, okay, that's interesting. In this episode, the Sliders land on this earth in a San Francisco used as a prison facility. So San Francisco is Australia, I suppose. Bro, this was...
do we have Australian listeners or viewers?
Hey, look, y'all.
That's the history, right?
I thought, ain't that it? They was shipping pirates and criminals over there, and they all became those poisonous Pokemon that them folks got. Shit. This episode was interesting. I'll say that. If I can give my general thoughts, this was interesting. Now, I guess before we, Robert, I forgot. So you want to pivot to
So this is we'll I was gonna say get this out of the way, like we trying to get out the way, but I just I wanted to hype up this movie because both of us have seen it, called Sinners, directed and written, and maybe, I don't know if co-written, but I know written by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Stanfield. I'm trying to think of the sister's name because she was in Lovecraft Country, and I don't want to.
I butcher her name every time.
Wanted to make sure I had it. That was the first thing that popped up. Delroy Lindo, that's another name. Remember. And why is her name all the way at the bottom? What the heck? This is not helping me at all.
This is racist.
I cannot find the sister's name on the main.
Oh God. Okay, forgive me. Wunmi Masako.
Okay, there you go. Masako. Yeah.
And I think I did it. I think I did it right.
This thing says top cast, and they got side characters on the main list.
Oh wow. I mean, shout out to them, but Oh wow.
Yeah, Wunmi Masaku. Yeah, that's no,
Mm-hmm.
they pushed her name all the way down.
Which
So
is crazy.
for y'all that are watching, this is great podcasting. So anyways, but yeah, really good, really good movie, an original concept,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kicking butt at the box office. So I
Yep.
recommend everybody go and see it. This thing got me in tears at a certain point. Like
Yes.
I told, yeah, and it's
Same.
one sequence in particular, but I told my
Yep.
wife, like, this was the movie that I wish my dad was still here with me, with us, or with
Mm-hmm.
me to talk about, but it was, we both love the speculative fiction stuff, and he would have loved this movie, but I think everybody should go see it. So that's our, like, the mini review for Sinners, because I want this to like rack
Absolutely.
up as much cash as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, same exact story, man. I teared and I know exactly what part you're talking about because
Mm-hmm.
I was in that theater boo-hooing. And
Yeah.
much like you, I feel the exact same way. That I do wish that my mother was alive to watch this because
Yeah.
a lot of our roots are from the South. And this was very much the type of film that was handcrafted for her. This is the type of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that we discussed growing up. This is the type of stuff that she exposed me to. So I definitely share your thoughts there. So yeah, like Robert said, y'all, man, if you ain't seen it, get in
Yeah.
them theaters and see it. No matter if you got to do Dolby regular, if you can do the XD, if you can do the IMAX, however you
Yeah.
can see it, where it's paid for, where you're paying for it, pay for a ticket. Make sure y'all see this movie because Chef's Kiss, Chef's.
Yep. Chef's kiss. I know the sliders people are like, okay, where's sliders? I'm like, okay, now we got it. Like I said, we got to run these numbers up for the stuff that we love.
Yes, indeed.
So now back to the sliders review. LL said, or recap.
Yeah, this again, my original thoughts, my initial thoughts. Sinners was great. No, it was LC. It was interesting. I have some issues with it, but I think I might get over those through the conversation. All in
Okay.
all, this felt more grounded, and honestly, it kind of felt like 4400 to me. Like I
Mhm.
that opening scene at least. But
Yeah.
general thoughts, interesting. Again,
Okay.
interesting.
I think for me, it might turn out to be one of my, like, kind of favorites of the season.
Okay.
Um, and for a couple of reasons, but there are things definitely in it that I felt could be improved upon. But
Mm-hmm.
it's this episode, like, the biggest thing to me is that it felt tight, and it
Yeah.
felt that there were reasons for things to happen, rather
Mm-hmm.
than other episodes where we watched and we were just like, what the hell is going on? Like, this seems random. There's no, this this seems like it came out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, it seemed like there was this natural progression of events to Act 3, where, as they usually do, they just like, we got to hurry this shit up.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of like that. So those are my initial thoughts. Actually, I enjoyed it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's it. But let's have the conversation where, like, maybe by the end of it, I'm like, oh shit,
Oh
um,
no.
whatever. But yeah, those are initial thoughts. You ready to jump into it?
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Okay, cool. The episode begins with the sliders running through, I call it War Zone world, or World War Z, or the Walking Dead world, Mad Max, and it's like this blown up landscape. They're running through, like, I think it's like a set of warehouses or factories, and everything's burning and whatever. So obviously we have not seen this world before. This is new. So we see them run into this, kind of blown up warehouse, and then a truck pulls up, like, from the set of Mad Max, like I said, and you see Negan from the Walking
Honestly.
Dead.
Yes.
Yeah, like a young Jeffrey Dean Morgan, jump out of the truck and turn to like this random brother who I have actually seen in other stuff. Now I will say that he's definitely like one of those dudes. And he says, "Stay in the car, LJ." And it reminded me of that joke from Dave Chappelle from the Block Party, where he talks about in Miami Vice when Crockett would tell Tubbs, "Stay in the car, Tubbs." It was just like some shit like that. So just like, let the hero or the badass white lead.
Yeah.
And LJ was like, "Go ahead." He didn't say that, but so he gets out, and the thing I love is like with this world's LJ, he just had a different hat, right?
That's it.
He just had a different hat. So they drive off, I guess, in a murder car, LJ and the others. And so they show the sliders, and they're hiding, and they only have a few more minutes left on the world, before they slide. So Sid, the guy who got out of the truck, walks in. And he starts yelling for like Michelle. He's looking for this lady named Michelle. And then he finally finds the lady steps out. And I was like, maybe you could have like hid a little bit better.
Man.
And so she steps out because she feels that, I guess whatever he's going to find her. And so he starts talking about like, "I'm Sid and this is it." And, he starts hitting her, like, kind of he throws her to the ground. And so where the sliders are hiding, they're watching this happen. And Wade first says, he's going to kill her or he's going to hurt her. And I don't know if she looks at Quinn, but the professor looks at Quinn and says, "Mr. Mallory, this ain't our shit. This is not our shit." And then he picks up a pipe. Quinn goes out and to stop Sid from hurting Michelle any, more than he has. And so the first thing that happens when Quinn walks up, he's like, you stop hurting her. And Sid's like, "Who's this?" And then Michelle's like, "I don't know who the fuck this dude is." And I was like, God, you got thrown under the bus right when you walked over there. So he tries to swing on Negan. Negan's like, I've been dealing with walkers since you came out of diapers. And then whoops his ass. This is the episode where Quinn was getting his ass whooped a bit.
Good.
And so then he walks over. He walks over Quinn, but then behind him, Rembrandt comes with a 2x4 and hits him. Hits Sid on the back and then says, "Laugh about that." And so they reach down. Quinn offers to help her up or somebody else, and then Michelle's just like, if I say her, I'll die. So they run, and then the professor opens up the portal. Or it's Wade. Wade has the timer at this point, and so Wade and Rembrandt jump through, and the professor and Quinn turn. Quinn explains to Michelle like, we gotta go, and then she's like, "Hey, you gonna leave me here? So I'm gonna die." He's like, if you don't take me, I'm gonna die. And then the Quinn turns to the professor, and the professor's like, "We can't do it. We'll put in more of a strain on the timer." And they see Sid actually by this point he's got up, and then they jump through the portal. And so Sid gets there, and then his voice kind of changes, like he's like Michelle, like because he's confused or whatever. And because Sid is Sid, he just jumps through that motherfucker. He just jumps through the portal. And I think that's how the episode begins. So like that's everything up into the credits. What are you thinking?
Bullshit. So honestly, I had a good time. This was fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was kind of toying with going back and forth with myself when Quinn decided to step up and save Michelle. And it's not because I support domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is one of those impossible situations where regardless, you damn if you do, damn if you don't. Yeah. And so I can appreciate Quinn stepping up. And even though I hate Arturo, it still was like, well, hold up. We don't know what the hell we're dealing with. This woman could be a killer.
Yeah.
This man could shoot a tongue out and it got spikes on. Like, we don't know what this world is. And to just jump into that felt like, yeah, okay, you're saving her. But it also felt like this American way of thinking where, like, I go to another country and I know what's best. Yes, these things may look terrible. And again, I'm not downplaying domestic violence. That is bad.
Yeah.
But you didn't assess that situation. I know they didn't intend it this way, but when Sid threw that man across the white. Like it looked like he had superpowers. How the force that Quinn's body went across that room. So I'm like, again, we don't know what we're dealing with. I'm not heartbroken that he helped Michelle, but one thing that Michelle said that pissed me off when I initially watched it, it didn't. But the more I got through the episode, she said something like, "Oh, if what am I supposed to do if I stay here? He's going to kill me or whatever." But then later in the episode was like, "Oh, he's great. He's what men don't hit a woman." So to me, it felt like there wasn't a consistency there. Where again, I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for domestic violence, but I feel like this isn't a situation where it's like, oh, this woman is in an abusive situation, she has to leave when she's ready. No, if we're looking at the world, it's like she looked terrified. Quinn saved her, but then it's like, oh, he's gonna kill me. But then later it's like, oh, he's so great. What man don't hit a woman? I'm like, what the hell? Which one is it, Michelle? My biggest issue with this opening scene is the fact that Michelle and Sid jump through. Not because I think it's terrible storytelling, but I was like, okay, if it took us all the way to like the lottery to get somebody else to go through, and we killed that man off right away, what is the continuity here? Like, I guess she's running from whatever, but like, you didn't establish any emotional anything with her. It would have made more sense to take somebody with you from like the first season who was in like terrible. I was like, we don't know this woman. Like, how do we know women don't have superhuman strength? And she was like playing a sexual role play game with him. Like, we don't know anything.
Oh, in the middle of a war zone.
I'm sure. What is it? Last of Us wasn't Pedro Pascal getting it in too? Like,
I mean, I get. Now I'm trying to think about the first season. Now I'm like actually thinking about it.
I ain't seen it. I just thought he had a boyfriend. I was like, well, I know they were fucking. I don't know, but like, I don't know. I was just like, this doesn't feel right to me. But
and it's one of those things where that never pays off. The only time that the thing with them bringing somebody through where those people or that person is even mentioned is the episode with Ryan, after the season premiere, where they say his heart was broken, so he left to live in this world. And that's the most, but like that's the most that you ever gonna get like, that we're getting right now. I'll say that.
But remember, we also had that married couple in that van, and that didn't do anything to the.
Right. They just the episode after that, they're not even spoken about. So,
but it was cool. It was cool.
It's like I said, it's something that they keep doing, and it's not paying off, which is weird. Which is this weird shit. And I got thoughts about kind of her feelings about Sid. Which kind of come up during that discussion, but we can hop on that when at that point. So we come back and we see the San Francisco nice skyline. People seem well put together. There's everything seems clean, and it's just a nice place to live. It looks like. So we see this world's version of LJ. So I guess we're carrying over, keeping that same character, which is fine. It is what it is. Playing chess with this person. I think his name is Jake, but I just wrote it down initially as ZZ Top. And so he's sitting there, and you see, and I'm sorry. So the name of this world, which I'm sorry, it's going to give it away, is Convict Music World. So we just sorry, I had to break out the was it Akon?
Akon or one of them? Yeah.
I think it was Akon. So I call this like Convict Life or Convict Music World. So don't hold it against me, y'all. That was a horrible impersonation. But they see the slide. So LJ sees the slider slide through. The portal has opened up, and the sliders plus Michelle, they come through and kind of walk away. But like I said, strangely enough, LJ is the only one that notices this, because I don't think even Jake notices it based on something he says later on. So then Sid comes in afterwards, and guess what Sid does? He's like, "Got to get the gun," and he walks up to Quinn. it hims his ass up, and I'm like, this does seem some Negan type of stuff to do, and hims him up, and then LJ is just like, yo, calm down, this is you. Do you want to get caught? And then the Sid says, LJ, I thought I told you to stay in the car,
which is
stay in the truck. And it's just like, obviously you're not on the same world, but it is what it is. So they see he threatens Quinn. Michelle says once again, like, I don't know, Quinn, and it's just like, why do you keep throwing this man under the bus? And LJ tells it, like, at that point, that's when LJ tells him to chill, and I think Sid asked, like, where are we at? And LJ says we're in Webb Court, and I guess it's a part of San Francisco that if you live there, you should be familiar with, or maybe it's a fictional place that they built. But whatever he says, however, whatever it is, Sid says, and I like these little things. Sid says, like, Webb Court is destroyed, right? This does not look like the Webb Court that I know about. So even when he says that to LJ, I thought I told you to stay in the truck, LJ looks at him like he's weird. Like so obviously there's no version of Sid on this world, which is something I appreciate, rather than pairing up the same versions of themselves. So that's when the professor decides to explain to Sid, kind of the concept of sliding to step in and just kind of calm things down. And LJ tells him to kind of come along with them so that they can, just to kind of calm things down. So Sid has put up the gun. He's talking to, about sliding. And the other thing that comes out of this conversation is he mentions that they've gone to 20 to 30 different worlds, which is, and obviously we've only seen some of them, but, that's kind of where they're at right now. So LJ takes them to get some help. And he also, we appreciate that you chose not to stand. So one of the things that you also start seeing is around them, like little, and also if you had the subtitles on, or if you're listening in the background, the announcements that come through from like the PA system. But one of the signs that I noticed was, we appreciate that you choose not to stand in the same place for long periods. It's just like, what is going on? But remember, this is before the reveal of like what this world actually is. So things are weird. So LJ gets them these buddy bracelets because he's selling them, right? Out of his jacket. And they're like, when in Rome, so they put the bracelets on him, and Sid is like, I ain't wearing that. And he's like, well, if you want to get in trouble, don't wear it. So he takes them to I'm trying to think after this. He takes them to one of their guards that are there, and it looks like just this world's versions of police officers named custodians, and shows them the bracelets, and then takes them to before that, there's an aftershock that happens. So now that this world seems very peaceful and serene and all that, but then now it's a bunch of earthquakes that are happening. And I think LJ tries to talk to the custodian and said, he's like, oh, was that a bigger aftershock than the other one? And he's like, get the fuck on. They just so they find this go-kart big enough to carry everybody. And LJ, they're like, are you like a taxi driver? He's like, I do it all, man. And so he says something to that effect. So they right before they jump on this car, Sid is still talking shit to Quinn, which I think is hilarious. So this man here carries a grudge. So they jump on, and he takes them to it's there. Before they get there, they ask, can you take us to the Dominion Hotel? And LJ says, oh, Dominion Street is under a pile of rubble. That part of San Francisco fell, during one of the really bad aftershocks. So you take them to and LJ is dropping clues. Like, all these clues are being dropped about like kind of what's going on. So he takes them to like this information booth where this lady is working, and he wants to get them set up in with quarters. And one of the other clues that you see is that he pays her in cigarettes. And it's funny because they, Quinn says, we can't pay for this, and he said it's all on the G. And then they're like, what? They said government housing. I think like they say something, oh, we're gonna be here for one night because if they're only there for 26 hours. And then the lady makes a joke like, what did they do? Like steal a quarter or like steal like some small crime? And once again, like another clue. I need y'all to start. This brother paid in cigarettes. He's just paid in cigarettes. And so he drives them, he gets them, set up, says the ladies have to go to mandatory what is it? Not counseling, but like group therapy.
Yeah.
And even that's weird. So he at that point, gets them set up, and then he takes them to the hotel. So like what about this entire sequence where all these little clues are
this was crazy. For me, Sid was the standout in this because, like you said, I don't hate Quinn, but I'm so glad that somebody is on his ass. It's unfortunate that it is the domestic. Well, I don't even want to say yes, they're together, but he's just like an evil person. He's just a bad person all around.
Yeah.
But I love that between him and LJ, being these outsiders. To me, they kind of stole the show really in overall. But I like Sid giving Quinn the blues, and I like that even though Rembrandt is the one who hit him over the head, knocked him out. He's like, I'm not worried about you. It's this man. He the one who did the initial attack, so he got to go. This I did like the way this all unfolded. I think a lot of what made this work is whatever location they shot at.
Yeah.
Because you know, we've seen like even with the 4400 when we did the first series review, and they would be in Vancouver, but it's supposed to be like the gritty streets, and it's like, oh, it's a neighborhood park. It's like you have to suspend belief, I think, but the setting for this really helped sell the episode. The buddy braces to me were an issue, not bad issue, but just in general, because my question was, which I don't know if it was ever answered, when you are sentenced to, or what is the process? Because wouldn't I just have one?
I think so. The way that I think it's explained is that no matter what crime, because now they didn't really get into this, but I think it's no matter what crime you're convicted of or that you are sent to this island or the city for, you have to wear this this buddy bracelet. And it's the idea of, like they explained, is that it's the idea of like, if your buddy fucks up, then you will pay the price. But the messed up thing about it is I feel that was their form of population control.
No, honestly.
Yeah, like that and keeping people in line. But I don't know if the seriousness of the charges depended on like who you got buddied up with or whatever.
Yeah, but I guess my question was, where do they? Because if he just selling them in his jacket, do I not get a bracelet when I'm convicted? Like that's where I was like.
I mean, I think he was like, maybe he has. Because you should automatically get it when you get.
That's
there,
what I thought.
right?
That's what I would assume. Like if you get handcuffed when you're arrested, you get a prison jumper when you're in prison. Like when do you get this? But that's
this brother's hustling, man. He's selling cigarettes and bracelets.
Black business support him, but that was a magic jacket. That was some Miss Frizzle shit. But no, all in all, I did enjoy this, and I enjoyed Quinn getting beat up on.
Yeah. The other thing I forgot to mention was the other thing that makes this look more like a utopia, kind of like futuristic, peaceful world, is that they're seeing things like electric cars, and then also I think what he said, the air is so clean, electric cars, and and then Rembrandt says like, well, there's a lot of rules and regulations. So anyway, so that goes back to the clues. So they get back to the hotel, they get dropped off, and he gets them a room and, like I said, group therapy session. So when they get there, the professor asks, he says he has to go get them further set up, and he tells them don't go anywhere or trust anyone. And I think the professor's like, do you have our keys? And he's like, no one steals in San Francisco. And I was like, okay, once again, another clue. So when they get inside the lobby of this place, it's like really nice. Like you said, the place where they filmed at looked really on point. Just playing into like the banality of like something like a Marriott or a Hyatt,
right.
but you don't think this is prison, right? So
right.
so they're in the lobby, and Michelle and Sid, to their credit, they keep doing their thing. Michelle is like, guess how much stuff we can steal. Like, they don't even got locks on the doors. And Sid's like, yeah, after we deal with those walkers, right? And so they're that's kind of where their mind is going. And then I think Sid even, the professor talks to him a little bit more, or maybe it's Quinn. Somebody, I think it's Quinn because of what happens. And Sid once again hems him up, and this time I think it's probably the same move, but he is choking him out on the wall.
Yes.
He is like literally like fucking him up. And this time, Rembrandt ain't got a 2x4, and he can't hit him on the back. I mean, he could have hit him on the back if he stepped up, but he's holding a gun on him. And I love how like nobody in the lobby is just like, well, shit, this is prison, right? So it's like, this is prison shit. So Sid demands that he take them back home, right? Which is, for me, is a stupid ass thing, because like that was the thing that kind of kept getting me. But and he's like, you are the reason why I'm here, because you got in my business. And one of the things that I do appreciate is that Quinn, even as he's being choked out, and I think the professor explains to him, like, he is the only one that can get you home. And then Quinn, like gasping for breath, says, "I'll leave your fucking ass here." And he's basically, he's talking shit.
Yes.
He's like, "I'll leave you here." He's like, "You would never get home to World." And so he stops hemming him up as Quinn is talking shit, and he walks out. And excuse me, he walks out. I think Michelle is there, and then the professor, even I think he kind of checks on Quinn, but he also said, you wouldn't be getting hemmed up on the wall if you had calmed the fuck down. And then like Quinn is just like, shut up, old man. And he's like, I gotta go get some air. Like, everybody is pissed. And Wade and Rembrandt's just like, you know what? Hey, that's between y'all. Remy's just like, I did my part. I hit that man in the back of the head. He should be dead. So he goes out. And he's outside, and Michelle walks up, and she thanks Quinn for he's like, I know you and your father are arguing because of me, and he's like, my father, and he's talking about the professor, and she kind of kisses him, which it ain't no kiss on the cheek. Which is like weird. They keep trying to throw these little love triangles in this fucking show. But anyways, the other thing in the background that I remember hearing from this point is like on the intercom or the PA system, it says, "Please keep moving. The life you save may be your own." So once again, another clue that this is weird. So LJ pulls up with the custodian. His name is, I think, Leo. Yeah, his name is Leo. So he walks up. Carrying this staff, which is weird. I think it's like a walking stick or whatever. So anyways, so they go back up to the hotel, and by this time Sid has left. Sid went for a smoke break, which is translated as crime. So he went out, and they're back in the hotel. Leo comes in, and basically he's like, there are some forms that you need to fill out, donor cards and last will and testament. And once again, hotels don't ask for this shit. And he also explains the buddy system. And he says that they're going to have to buddy up in pairs. So what he does, and I think that's actually what his staff or the walking stick is for, is that he uses it to activate the wrists, the bracelets. And so he pairs up Wade and Michelle, Professor and Remy, and then they said that Sid is asleep. They don't want to let on that he's not there. So he automatically activates Quinn, and Sid is out. They show him outside. He's actually is smoking, and his bracelet lights up like green. So think about like if you go to Dave and Buster's or whatever, kids, if those places exist, and then you get like the little thing that indicates like, hey, you can come to your table or you can come get some tokens. That's what it looks like. Yeah. So Leo gets a call over his like comm system, and says he's like, oh dear, and he's like, oh, curfew violation. So he's on the balcony because I think they're on like the second or third floor, and then you see this guy walking below them trying to hide his bracelet, under his sleeve. So Leo's like, he says, oh dear, he walks out, he pulls out a gun, aims, and then shoots this man dead. And so this is where you have to really know, like, this shit is not, there's like something is, shit ain't, it's not as nice as it seems to be. So that's how the scene ends. So because this is a big moment. Any thoughts about, from Quinn getting deboed and fucked up to this?
Good. Keep doing it. What went through my mind during this scene was, what the hell did Michelle do to make Sid want to beat on her? Because, like you said, there's so much stuff we could steal. What? What do we do? You don't. It is not. They are the most relaxed people who have encountered a slide ever.
Yes, they're not freaking out or nothing.
I mean, I guess I'm like, if your war-torn world was that bad, I mean, I can accept, I can believe that, but I'm just like, what are you talking about? We can steal shit. Well, you don't know where you are. Like, we've explored. It's that part was so weird to me. I was like, what could Michelle have done? Because they never alluded to, like, oh, she was trying to get away. Oh, she was double timing him and the rival crime lord. So when they got to that, oh yeah, we can just steal whatever, I'm just like, I need some backstory. It could just be a couple lines. I need something. This is not working for me. And the fact that they split, like, I see it choke Quinn up good. Keep doing that. Give me 14 of them. But like, after he left, it's like, not to say they need to be together, but it didn't feel like there was any urgency. Like, I need to be close to see it. Michelle was like, hey, I'm gonna kick it with these strangers. like they got the juice. I don't know. They
got the juice.
But my other question is, this show don't know what the fuck they're doing. Why did she kiss Quinn in the mouth? Why do we? What was the point?
Well, so that it's like, I think it ties into like the love triangle side of things, but them trying that at least. But the other, I don't know, and I don't want to say what I want to say,
okay?
Because but what I want to say is that it's representative of somebody writing a character who possibly doesn't understand how a woman who goes through domestic violence might kind of look for protection somewhere else. So I was trying to figure out the right way to say that.
Okay.
And that might be the best way to say it, because that kind of ties into, I don't know if it's the complexity of this character or the fact that she's not as well written because of with the situation that she's in.
Yeah.
But I always, because this show has always leaned into like the will they, won't they, Ross and what was the fucking name?
Rachel.
I'm sorry, Rachel side of things. Like, I think they tried to add that in here. So at the kind of the more innocent level, it might have been them trying to kind of introduce somebody else into that dynamic. But I also have other thoughts about it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, that's fair. And I can, that, I think that does describe how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Just for me, they lacking with Wade and Quinn. So why are you introducing anybody else?
It was weird. Yeah.
Like, you're not doing a good job with them, with just the consistency. Like, they've had a date, sure, but they were like mad at each other. It's just such a weird thing. That bothered me. But to your point, the whole, maybe this is trauma. What is that, like Nightingale? What is it?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So I can see that, but I still think that they just did, and maybe that one scene of him trying to beat her was enough, and maybe it's me through 2025 lens, like, that wasn't really in the. But so I'm not going to harp too bad on it, But the domestic violence part of it aside, I was just like, Wade and Quinn ain't even made up their mind what the hell is going on. So this to me is not it. What I will say though, with this collection of scenes, I think they did a really good job, phenomenal job at killing that man. Because the way the scene laid out with Sid walking off camera and then him getting that alert and then stepping out. Yes, we saw that other man walking, but initially I didn't know what the I'm thinking he's about to do something to see it. So I thought that was done really well. Also, that man having curfew, it's 4 p.m. What curfew did he miss? Like, I don't, but that's minor. But all in all, I did enjoy this scene. I did not trust LJ at this point, not just because we saw him in the opening, but I felt like you know too much. You have too much access. Why do you have the bracelets I can see, but you also are hand in hand with the janitor? No. That's something
is up.
Yeah,
there. I had in my notes before, like, why didn't Rembrandt like clock his brother from the jump? But then also, but then he does say something like later, like it seems like the show listened to me, because he does say something like, I think it was when they got out of the shuttle that he was driving. It was like he said something like, there's something about the guy that I don't like, right? You know, I don't trust. So we come back, and I think the guys that are like the guards, they're called the custodians or whatever, and they pick up the body of the guy and put him on another shuttle, and just kind of like he's luggage, and then drive him away. Like, I think Leo comes out and kind of oversees them, carrying the body away. And the crazy thing about this is that you see people like walking by, with like groceries and going to jail jobs or whatever. It's crazy. So hey, this is a Tuesday. So what LJ explains is that apparently the dead guy's buddy had committed a crime, and this guy paid for it by being killed. And everyone, so what he explains is that one of the ways that you can get picked up or is, killed or whatever, or punished, is by being reported by the neighborhood watch, which it sounds like it's just a snitch network. And the second thing being the buddy system, which is by the enforcers or by the, the custodians, whatever they're called. And so at this point, everybody's mind, like they're like, where the fuck is Sid? Right. So they're worried about Sid, what Sid's going to do. And LJ, and, I think LJ asked, they asked Michelle, like, what would he do? And she's like, well, I don't know. Like, we were talking about stealing this shit. I'm glad I didn't do that. But no, she says that he's going to go wherever the money is. Right. Wow. And so LJ, he takes Quinn so they can go around and try to find him. And they decide to, like, let's go check out and, see the ATMs that are in the area. And then the professor and Remy said they'll go out and look for him, since they're buddied up. And, Wade is like, me and Michelle, we'll go out. And then he's like, no, you got to go to group therapy. And so she's like, what? He's like, you have to stay on schedule. You have to stay on schedule. And so they, that's where everybody kind of departs to, or they leave the hotel. So as they're rolling around, him and Quinn, LJ, I think this is a scene where he asked him, no, this is before that. So LJ explains to Quinn that the buddy system keeps everybody in line because of San Francisco's possible destruction. And so Quinn was like, well, if you all know that San Francisco is going to be destroyed by these earthquakes or aftershocks, why don't you leave? And he says, they have no choice. They said this is a big reveal. He calls it, this is San Fran National Penitentiary. So one of the things that's explained later on, I'll just do that because it's kind of like an info dumping moment, is that it sounds like criminals from all across the country are sent to live in San Francisco. Because this place is going to just fall into the sea. Yep. And it's like one of those things where I'm not even going to say it's humane, because like, even though this area is nice or whatever, it is inhumane to send people to a place just to ultimately die. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of this is, and there may be more to this world, but that's one of the things that I like about this, is that it is just this part that is very different from our world, and I like that it's contained to that.
Yeah.
And you might get from that, and you probably get an idea of how they do prisoners just everywhere else. Who knows? They might send them to an island where a volcano is about to explode. That type of shit. Like I wouldn't be surprised. So we see the reaction. It's like, oh wow. So Remy is Rembrandt and the professor. And one thing I do notice is that the professor calls Rembrandt. He doesn't say Remy or Rembrandt. He always calls him Mr. Brown, which is something that I love, just like that kind of particular thing. So Rembrandt is wondering how they're going to convince Sid to come back with them. And the professor says, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. He's like, but I don't want to talk about this motherfucker named Quinn. And he just starts talking about like how they're going to have a talk about how Quinn is always jumping into danger. And, he explains, though, that in this case, and was something they explained going back to the lottery world, that the more people you bring into this thing, it strains the timer. But I'm like, but y'all drove a big ass van through that thing like 3 or 4 episodes ago. So unless I see this thing like shorting every time y'all open it up, I think y'all are good. But it is one of those things where they have to introduce some type of conflict, right?
Yeah.
And he says that it could possibly affect them sliding. He said we could be dispersed, all across the the multiverse or whatever they call it. And so they get to, it's funny. They're still talking about this area because it hasn't been revealed to them just yet that this is prison world. So they're still thinking like, hey, somebody got killed, but it's still nice, right? And so he's like, this world reminds me of Switzerland or Singapore, where it's like a paradise. But Rembrandt said, yeah, if you like being caned for littering. So even then, like Rembrandt is just like, hey, this it might be nice for you, but not so much for me. But and so they get to this basketball court where you see these guys playing basketball, and these two guys they turn around and they see Remy and the professor talking, and one of them, I never get his name, so I'll tell you that right now, but I just call him like Shaggy, right? He's whatever. So he pulls out a knife and he throws it at them, and it sticks into one of those signs, and he calls them fish. Bring me my knife. And the thing that I do appreciate, because I'm probably the same age that Rembrandt was and the professor was when this show was like a middle age, but not like close to age. They said, we're not going to like fuck this. Like we going to stand strong. And so the professor says, I'm not a fish, whatever. And I think Rembrandt takes the knife and they're just staring him down. And he says, because the guy starts, talking shit to them. And then the professor starts talking real loud and says, we are with the neighborhood watch. And he calls attention to, to the guy threatening them. And then you see one of the cops or the oh God, I forgot the custodian, whatever. Turn around and like he's like, hey, we might have to shoot somebody today. And I was like, oh, you did already? Okay, that's cool. But no, he didn't see it. And so then the guy says, I see you later, fish. And then I think like, the professor and Remy is like, get the fuck out of here. And I think Remy is like, he holds a knife out at him. He says, dig it. And then they just walk away. But pretty much. But I think this is the point at which they realize like, okay, this is probably jail world or whatever. So because they were personally attacked, I think like probably the realization hit them when they saw that body drop. So, but anyways, but any thoughts about any of this? We get more, what is it, Oz? The Oz world?
Honestly, yes. We're in Stabler because that's what this is. This shit again. think I like this more than I initially thought. Because it's so happy. What it feels like is a writing prompt. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
What if you have a utopia and then it's a prison and then there's two people from apocalypse world?
Yeah.
Right. Like so so I think I like it more than I initially thought. My question is, who is in prison? Like even the people that's working here, that's what I was like, are you motherfuckers prisoners who just got a hall pass? Like what are it's another thing I do like is that they went with custodian versus police.
Yeah.
I like that because the job of a sanitation worker or a custodian or a janitor is always this like in this, well, especially in the 90s, in this space where it's like, oh, you don't want to take your dad to parents' day. I don't want them to see that I'm just a janitor. And I'm not saying that never happened. I'm sure it has. I'm sure it probably still happens today. But that's one of those jobs where in pop culture, TV, and movies, it's always a shorthand for poor or a shorthand for adversity or whatever. And so, not that I'm like glorifying cops, but I do like the spin on it, because you could have easily just said these are the prison wardens.
Yeah.
But it works twofold. It delays you realizing this is a prison because, custodians, they clean up stuff. But then it also kind of recontextualizes everything you've seen until you realize that this is a prison, where the janitor, the custodian, is the one who has ultimate power. Like they can murder you. Like that's their job. So I do like that. I think the episode is good, but I think within watching this, the function of the world is really what got me.
Yeah.
And so back to my initial question was, I was thinking, well, who the fuck is in prison? Because if it's not you go to Rikers, you clock in and go home, and even if you go to San Francisco and you clock in and then go home, eventually San Francisco is still going to fall into an earthquake. So that might be the shift that you die. It's very different from I'm going to Rikers and then I'm coming back to my house. So that's I'm like, is everybody a prisoner? Even the workers? Like what? I was confused.
I think that would make more sense because otherwise, like, unless you're paying these guys like a crazy amount of money, what incentive do they have to show up to work?
None. None.
To possibly die.
There was something in the way that the professor said, "I am not your slave," and I was like, I don't know if I'm being that friend that's too woke, but I was like, you white man is saying that to a Asian man who just threw a knife at you, while your black sidekick is like, yeah, sure enough, we nobody. So it was like, that's so weird. Like,
it was weird, yeah.
Nothing about this situation screams slave or slave owner. This is very much like.
You can look. So, like, I don't think they would have allowed them to. There were other words that they could have used outside of like what he could. I mean, like the closest one that I think of is like, I ain't your bitch, right?
Yeah,
you know, but like Fox is only going to allow so much.
Yeah, you know what? No, you're right. It's still weird, but I take.
But no, slave is a weird ass word. Like they could have chosen something else.
What are we doing?
At least Rembrandt didn't say it. Like
now, there's the silver lining. But I was like, what is this Asian man? What is wrong with him? The whole thing was like weird to me because I think him throwing that knife for me was like, well, does it matter? Like, are people truly scared of committing crimes then? Because had you have actually put that shit in that man's face, you would have. It was like, it was weird to me. Like, why are we doing this?
I mean, and I think I kind of respect what they were going for.
Yeah,
you know, with the whole like them trying to intimidate two people that they felt were just old men, right?
Yeah.
But the other side of the thing, like you said, is he was a hell of a throw with that knife, like because it could have hit that. It could have hit the custodian in the back of his head.
I mean, that was, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. I'd liken it to like a proper prison scene where it's like, oh, fresh meat. That's all he said. Fish. I'm like, okay, I guess that's so we don't know it's prison. I was like, Get your Louis Tan knockoff ass out of here. Ugh.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think they were shooting for. So so now we, after that whole scene, the fish scene, we go to group therapy. Wade and Michelle are, I think they're getting like some snacks or whatever, getting something to eat. Once again, this place looks nice, right? They're like, if you're gonna die in style. So Wade is what is that song? Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. She don't want to be saved. Don't say, like. So once again, you remember like the Whitney Houston, the Mary J. Blige playing over that scene in last season. That's like what was like the undercurrent of this. And Wade is doing her best to be like, yo, why you with him? All he does is hit you and this and that, da 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 da. And I think that there's a way to have that conversation without coming at it the way that Wade was coming at it. And I don't want to say it's like entitlement, but it's this thing of like, you don't know. And what's funny is we're watching a show called The Pit. And there's a scene where one of the doctors, it's on Max, really good show. If you love ER, this is like the real ER. And there's a scene where one of the doctors is talking to a lady who is unhoused, right? And the doctor herself experienced something like that in the past. So as she's talking to her, she's kind of built up this rapport. She's probably going to say, like at the end of the conversation, give her some resources. But she's like, I got you, boo. Like, I understand what you're going through. And then this new resident or this doctor in training comes in, and then she straight up says like, I understand your situation, so here are all the resources. And the lady is just like, it just basically kind of pushes her away from the good rapport that she had built up with the other doctor. And so in this scene, that's how Wade was coming off to me. Like there's a way that you have this conversation with somebody who is dealing with the situation of domestic abuse that you don't understand. You gotta go with kids' gloves. No, Wade was like, why are you with him? And he's just an asshole. All he does is hit you. And so Michelle says something like, that's how the guys are like on my world. And I think I think I'll just combine these two because they sit down, between the scene where they're standing up and sitting down, Michelle explains that Sid has been taking care of her since she was 15 and saved her from when her whole family was killed in the war. And so there's this ambiguous kind of like nature of the conflict that's happening on the world. And I actually respect that because I don't need you to go into like the whole info dump of what happened. All we know is that shit is fucked up to the point where you got to duck and dodge out of abandoned buildings to avoid getting shot, right? Or like blown up or whatever. But that's what she explained. So she's apparently been with him since she's been 15. And so you start getting this idea of like, that's all she knows, right? But she basically was saved by an asshole, right? And so the whole time, I think Wade said, like, she says, we don't have guys on our world like Quinn. And then Wade says something to the effect of like, she says something like, Michelle says, well, all guys do that. And then Wade says, not on my world. And I'm like, what? Like, what I'm sorry.
Turn this thing on.
That was just as bad when they were on the good, the bad, and the wealthy world. And they were like people don't kill each other. And it's just like, what world are you from? Like they treat their world like it's like Star Trek world, like after World War III on Star Trek when everything became the utopia. And it's just like, it's not like that
at all.
If anything, all we have done or created like creative ways to anyway. So she is this kind of like judgmental conversation, but then of course they give Wade the last word to say, well, Quinn helped you out. And then Michelle's like, man, I got to question everything that I just said. And it's just like, come on, don't do that. Like you could have this conversation and have it, be a little bit more complex, but whatever. So within all of this, there was this lady, Gladys, who was in line with them when they were getting the food and kind of overheard them. And she said something about the group therapy sessions are just their way to keep them under control, basically. So when they sit down, they Wade they sit down. The group counselor, the therapist, stands up and asks if the people new to this group can stand up and introduce themselves. And so this was the realization for after the murder of that guy, or after the guy being killed, of what they were there for. Gladys stands up, and the therapist said, basically, give us your name and why are you here? And Gladys stands up and says, I'm here serving 35 to life because I killed my husband for sleeping with another woman. And so the therapist says, now Gladys, we don't blame the victim. And the thing that I love about this actress is that her face goes from happy to like scary as hell. Like this actress killed it. And then before she sits down, she puts back on this like fake ass smile, and because she's been reprimanded, right? So, and so then the group therapist then calls on she calls on Wade. She said, the lady in the red jacket, tell us your name and why are you what your crime was. And it was funny because Michelle gives her this look like, okay, you're gonna be all judgmental, you better make some shit up. So which I thought was hilarious. So we go back to LJ and Quinn rolling around, and LJ is like asking like questions. He's like, so these worlds, do you ever know where you're going to go? And and Quinn, I mean, is like, he's more focused on the fact that finding Sid, but I mean, I think he's suspicious, but like LJ is being extra obvious right now, with it. So, anyways, they see Sid at an ATM about to rob this guy, and they try to call him back, to say, hey man, don't do this. And Sid is, he says something, and he walks over to the guy and he robs him. And then LJ at that point is just like, we gotta go. So Sid's bracelet, I think, lights up, and he tells the guy, he gets the money out of the ATM, he's waving his gun in this guy's face, and he pulls out the money, and it's like red money. And for all the conversations we've had about them needing to carry around money, like when we start seeing it now, it's a problem. And Sid is just like, what is this fake money? And it's just like, you're on a totally different world. The currency might be valid. Sid is like, it should probably on his world, the dollars were like purple and fuchsia or some shit. So LJ, Quinn's bracelet starts to light up. As they get away, Sid takes the guy hostage, and the custodians, led by Leo, they drive up. So that's the last we see of him. LJ sees Quinn's bracelet lighting up. He says, you got to get out of here. I can't be seen with you with that. And he says, just keep it covered up. Try to stay off the streets. Try to get back to, get back to the quarters or whatever. And he says, but don't let them see you. And he tells them to meet him. He tells him to have the group meet him at the BART station, which is actually the real kind of transit system for the San Francisco, Oakland area. So as Quinn is trying to be inconspicuous, an earthquake happens, and it kind of causes him to lose balance and his jacket to roll up, so his wrist can be seen. And so then we see some custodians nearby, and you start hearing like over the comms channel that, they're like, okay, well, you take the shot, because the other dude has been arrested for ATM, robbery. And so just as he's about to get shot, just kind of moving around and stuff, the earthquake or the aftershocks happen, and gets really bad. And so he's able to like stumble away, which is the best. Just seeing him like stumbling around through like a Macy's or some shit.
Right.
So, because like, I really do think that this place was like either a convention center where they filmed at, a hotel, and like a local department store.
Had to be.
It was really nice. So because we're kind of getting closer to the end, any thoughts about these few scenes?
Wade fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Wade is terrible. The care, like the black woman who led the meeting, I'm not okay with it, but I'm going to more easily accept her telling that Gladys lady, we don't blame the victims, because we're in their world and this is normalized to them.
Yeah.
So but Wade, this is the most entitled ass heifer I have ever seen. Like everything you said, I stand behind 100%. But there was something about there's like this privilege, and I'm not just speaking like white privilege. Like there is this privilege that they have that their world is the default.
Yes,
and it's like you are just one of many. That's not even the first queen who created sliding. So like let's be real here. Her conversation was so weird to me, especially after Michelle revealed that, I was 15, my family was fucking murdered. And this man took me in. And it's like some young girl who just like, I don't know, watched the TikTok and was like, well, if he's hitting you, why don't you just leave? Like, girl, did you not see where I live? Where was I going to go? Under the door that he kicked in the opening scene? And that, I just feel like Wade, this is twofold. Wade is so smart that should not have been a conversation. But also, she's so smart, and if we're going to get a little political, you have a lot of liberals, a lot of people who mean well, but they still have this air of superiority about them where it's like, you can't, something is ghetto, or this is a bad thing, or whatever. And it's like, you can't reconcile with the fact that your book learning is not the be all end all, or having to take your book learning and make it palatable and digestible for someone who does not have same said book learning. To get your, it was just such a weird space. And I was like, well, I mean, yes, the 90s, but like there was domestic abuse in the 90s just as well as shelters in the 90s. So it's not like, oh, this is a 90s thing. No, we also had people who were staunchly against this, and there were therapy is not new. It's not something that just happened in 2025. But the other big part of this that kind of made this more frustrating for me is the fact that we are at group therapy. Why wasn't the conversation about the abuse in the background, if that had been the topic of conversation and Wade had a different delivery, that would be great. But we're just getting snacks. You're like, man, you're too pretty to get beat up. Like, what? What are we doing, Wade? It felt a lot like, and this pisses me off. I stopped watching Mayfair Witches at like episode 3 or 4. Once, spoiler alert, they fucked over that black female, the black woman character.
Yeah.
But Rowan in Mayfair Witches felt just as entitled as Wade when she met what's the black guy name? Is it whatever? His sister.
The brother with the glasses, right?
Yeah. His sister was pregnant and she was giving up her baby like it was surrogacy or something. It's like, oh, that baby's good. That baby's gonna hate you. It was such a weird. I'm like, bitch, I don't even fucking know you. You in my brother's house, and that's what this feels like. You are entitled. You fucking weird. So that frustrated me more than anything. Like I was fine with LJ weird ass. I was fine with this random man out at the middle of the street, midnight, getting his Monopoly money. I was like, what are you doing? Where's your buddy? This is so weird. Also, nobody confiscated Sid's gun. He pulled that gun out like 5 times before we got to this point.
He and Michelle.
At least she kept hers hidden. I didn't even realize she had one.
She kept hers hidden, but why did she pull it on Sid?
Which was like
the beginning, right? So
the whole thing.
So they I respect the fact that they both strapped, but the other thing though that got me about her. So one of the we were talking about what you had mentioned earlier about her kissing is one of those things where like I said, I'm not an expert on domestic abuse, but it is one of those things where I see that, and maybe not the kiss, but this may not be attached to the kiss, but it's this thing of like kind of the back and forth with her and Sid. So it's that thing of like going back to your abuser. So that could be one of the reasons why, because she didn't know anything else, right? And so when we get this scene of like, essentially like Sid was her groomer, right? Is that how you would say it? Like
I would say that, I would say that.
So like if let's say there's maybe like a 3 or 4 year age difference. So like he, I was going to say Richard Dean Morgan, but no, Jeffrey Dean Morgan been looking like he'd been 40 since like forever.
He was 16. Like
he went into high school looking like he was 40. So I would have to do the math to find out what the age difference would be, but I think it's very specific of them for them to say 15 because I think there is an age difference between those two.
I agree.
So that's the thing, but even age-wise, like you can still groom somebody even if you aren't the same. I mean, like that's it, but whatever. But
imbalance too.
Yeah. So there's an imbalance. So that's the thing of like the back and forth with her when it comes to him. And but like I said, she didn't need, and I don't want to say Wade is no Karen, but like it came off as like this like judgmental, like you gotta do it to do it. And it's just like this ain't no cat hanging off a fucking tree meme. You know, this is a woman who's been beat down for like probably half of her life, or like not half of her life, but a good portion of it. So it was a weird moment for Wade. So we go back to Quinn. Quinn gets to the hotel, and he tells them everything. Kind of like Sid. Got caught. It is what it is. And he's like, we got to go. We'll find the professor and Remy on the way. And because I guess in his mind, like the first place they're gonna come and check is the place where he's actually staying.
Yeah.
So smart there. And then they say, Michelle, you got to come with. And once again, this is going back to like Michelle's feeling of like having to be there for Sid. And she's like, we got to wait for Sid. And it's like, no, we good. He ain't come back. And so that's when we see her pull out her gun, kind of cocking, and they look at her like, oh shit, okay, you strapped too. Hey, let's go.
Bruh.
So they leave. And I actually respect, because at this point they're just trying to rush things along. So the suggestion is they found Remy and the professor while they were heading out. So they go to the BART station, and this is when Quinn kind of gives them the lowdown or the rundown of this being Prison Planet or Prison world. And he says that they're going to meet LJ. When they get to the BART station, he says, LJ told us to meet him here. And then I think like Remy says something about, like maybe this place on the rubble, but no, the person that stands out is the professor's just getting in Quinn's ass. He's just like, this stupid ass plan in his proper British way. He's just like, he says something so much that Quinn is just like, what the fuck you got? It's a lot of going back and forth in this episode. And so that's when LJ shows up and says, come on, let's go into this deep dark tunnel to meet my friends. And Michelle, so as they go in, Michelle holds Quinn back and he says, I don't know about this, LJ, but on my world, he was a son of a bitch. And Quinn says, now you tell me. He says, now you tell me. So I love that everybody is just snapping on everybody. Like, it's just, they tired. Everybody is tired. Ain't nobody ate dinner. The professor is just like, so they hangry. So anyways, so they go into this like a subway tunnel. Once again, this is one of the sets that I do like it's kind of a diversity of different spots or whatever. And LJ says they're going to meet with some people who's going to hide them. I put in notes, he's still talking more shit. But the thing that I love is that as they're getting closer to where they're going, LJ is not being as polite as he was before. There's some like he's like, yo, I ain't got all day, or like some shit like that. And it's just like these little things. And so they finally get to and it's funny because Rembrandt said something about Kmart, because they start seeing all these boxes, like just like illegal goods, and and you think about like in prison, like the whole black market of like stuff that they were supposed to have, except now you got a city, right? You got a city where you can sell this stuff, because like on most of the boxes it just says cigarettes, and I'm like, damn, everybody smokes in prison, right? They should have some, like, I wish they had balanced it out by saying they had some nicotine patches, like boxes of nicotine patches, like some like condoms somewhere, like whatever. But but it's just nothing but it's just like boxes. So Jake, the guy, the ZZ Top guy, and the knife guy are there, and I think it was just kind of a cool way to bring all the actors and characters back together. And so then Jake walks up and says that he's like, where's the thing? And LJ turns to to them and to the team or sliders and says, give them the thing, the thing that opens up the portal. And then Quinn's like, LJ, no, they're we were brothers and all that or some shit. And then LJ pulls Wade and says, I killed his anyways. I mean, like, he was really leading into it. He was like, oh no. And I was like, oh shit, LJ, this is escalated. Everybody got guns. So they hand the timer, and before they hand the timer over, the professor does. So one of the things that what he does suggests that Quinn has actually been talking to them about how to operate the device. Because I think he just turns it off, right? Yeah. So that you can't see the timer. So he turns it off so that when they get it, Jake says, so this is a thing that's going to open up a portal. And then LJ's like, yeah, man, I promised you and all this shit. And it doesn't work. And I don't know, maybe this is when he takes Wade hostage. I think this is actually when he does. And then not the lights go out, like they're like spotlights come on or whatever, but basically it's a raid. A raid happens, and then you see Leo, the custodian, and a bunch of other custodians. They all got guns, right? Mm-hmm. And Leo's like, I wish you could have just told me about this, LJ. We could have worked something out. And LJ's like, oh, I was gonna tell you later. I just had to take these people hostage. And then the custodians, because I guess they can just do whatever the fuck they want, they start shooting. Yeah, they start shooting everybody's bodies and I forgot to say there are other criminals there, right? Who are like helping, and I guess they were the buddy system. Fuck that, they just die, right? And so like everybody's getting shot, everybody die, and so like the professor, Michelle, Professor Wade, and Remy get to the other side of the boxes, and I think Michelle is hiding out, and they're like, where's Quinn? And Quinn is trying to get the timer from Jake's ZZ Top's dead body, because we didn't even see him get shot. He just fell over, and his hand is right by the timer, so every time he tries to get it, like there are gunshots ringing out, and then you see LJ hiding around some boxes, and he's about to shoot Quinn, and then Michelle's just like, well, I got a gun, and then LJ's dead. And I didn't even care. I mean, like, the brother served his purpose, and he turned on him. So I guess they were like one black person per episode. No, they actually had two in this one. We had the psychiatrist and Remy, and now LJ in the other world, if you want to count him as a double. Mm-hmm. So anyways, no, that it was stacking smoke. It was stacking smoke.
Yo, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. They're smoking stack in this episode. There's just Sinners crossover. So, anyways, oh god. So Michelle shoots LJ, Quinn gets it, and they book it out of the tunnel. They go back through the exit that they had come through, the entrance. And who's there? Sid with a bunch of custodians, and so Sid sold them out. So let me get your thoughts, because like I said, this is pretty much the end right now.
Some bullshit. Well, I actually did. I liked it. I did. All in all, I think that was a really good scene, and I think I don't know if those two locations are actually near each other, but I do think whoever like scouted for locations or whatever that job title is did a really good job at selling that utopia, and that this Gotham City style subway is underneath it. Like
that's where the Penguin was.
No, for it, it looked really nice, and even just the practicality of stacking those boxes to like sell this scene was so good. So even when the spotlights came out, like I think honestly that was a great transition, like literally them transitioning beneath the ground. I have no notes on that. Michelle, I think she took too long to pull that gun out, but hey, I don't. Maybe she was just thinking, But no notes. I think all of that was really good. Everybody snapping on each other. Honestly, no notes.
Okay. Notes. Cool. So we got so now the sliders and Michelle have been captured, and they're now in an underground jail. And it was weird. So they're in a jail. It's like in kind of a cave or something. And the professor is still in Quinn's ass. He's just like, you keep fucking up. All you do is fuck up. I hate you. And then Remy is trying to keep the peace. He's like, "Hey, man, I used to sing." And then the earthquakes are happening, right? This like it's really bad. And I think Michelle even says to Quinn, like, I think he said your father is right. If you hadn't helped me, then we you wouldn't be here. And Quinn is just like, you know what, science, right? And so Leo shows up and gives him a deal, and basically says that whoever helps him and me and Sid to operate this, he brings a timer in. He's like, "You cool? Everybody else gonna die, just like LJ did." But Michelle, you a good shot. So they all look around. Basically they're worried. And so we come back to Leo and Sid, and they're playing. Sid says, we're playing the waiting game, and I think even Leo says something like, "You're a cocky son of a bitch" or something. He was just like, "Well, I'm Sid," and so they get a note from Leo. Gets a note from one of the other custodians, and it says that there's somebody left this outside the cell, and so we go back to the cell, and Leo comes in. He's like, "Okay, well, you'll come with me," and it's the professor. And the professor, he turned traitor. Everybody gets mad, and the professor's just like, they're like, "You just gonna leave us here?" He was like, "I'm usually the first one through the portal, so if y'all don't get that, if you pick up on like I care about my life more than y'all's, then deuces." And then Quinn is just like, "You just want to slide in technology," and it's been a discussion. They've had this discussion before, or whatever. Yeah. It's been suggested. So the professor goes back to, and actually Michelle comes with, because Sid wants his later, and they show up. The professor looks at the timer and says, "Oh, the Goomba Morale is not working. I have to take this to Quinn." And it's just like, this shit ain't convincing. And I think part of the reason it's not convincing is because they are wrapping this shit up very fast. And so then Sid is just like, "This is a joke. This is, he's trying to fake us out." And then he's like, "The Goober Rob is not working. Only Quinn knows how to do it." And then Michelle pulls her gun out again. Why they didn't take the gun away from her is what it is. But she pulls out the gun, holds it on Sid. She's like, "I'll do it. Let us go," or whatever. And so the next scene is like the way I'm describing it is how it's going.
Yes.
For anybody listening and watching this, because it seems very back and forth-ish, right? That's where we're at. This is just as bad as when they kept using that same location for like the good, the bad, and the wealthy, where they were just like, "Fuck it, we got to use this lunch court, whatever, so food court." So they finally go back to the jail, and he's like, "We only have 30 seconds," and always last minute with the show. It, like I said, it's just something you come to accept. And so they open the portal and they cut back to the room, and apparently they tied them up. And Leo's just like, and he gets free, and Leo's tied up, and Sid was like, "If I had time, I would kill you." And he's like, "I will kill you too." And so the professor jumps through the portal first, and I respect it, because he was like, "The only reason we are in this shit, it was not because of me. Deuces. Whatever happens to y'all happens." So he jumps through. Everybody else watches as Quinn gets his ass handed to him again by Sid. Sid comes in, throws him, like you said, with the superhuman Negan Walking Dead world strength into, and maybe if you're watching. He is a character on Invincible, so this all makes sense now. So, anyways, but he tosses Quinn over. Rembrandt's like, "I ain't got a 2x4, but your back is turned." And so then Negan says, "Fuck that, brother," and then tosses him into into some rocks. And then because nobody else can whoop this man's ass, Michelle pulls the gun out. She's like, "I'll do it." And then Negan's like, "No, you won't. I'm not a fucking walker." And then he tries to go after her because apparently she has a gun. He doesn't believe she will pull the trigger, and she does. And so Sid dies. And that's it. And Michelle goes over to him to like, "Oh, this is sad." And how many minutes have run by? Because isn't it like 60 seconds?
Right.
Like, right. So Wade is like, "We got to go. He's dead." And Remy, I think, jumps through. And then Quinn goes through, and then Wade brings Michelle. And the thing that I love about the way this episode ends is that, okay, he's been shot, right? And so they're like, "No, we about to make sure this motherfucker's dead." The biggest earthquake ever happens.
Yes.
They actually get out of San Francisco as it's about to fall into the sea. And you just see all these rocks fall on his body.
Good.
And the suggestion is that this is a big one, and that's it. That's how the episode ends.
Which fucked me up.
It's wild.
Nothing else?
No, they say you're not getting nothing.
Yeah, that's, man, fuck him.
Oh man, this is epic.
It was. I if Michelle ain't in the next episode, I'm gonna be pissed. Why are y'all? I feel like she's not gonna be, or it's like, oh, we found her real family again. It's gonna be so stupid. But whatever. I'm here for it. That damn Michelle. Ugh.
So let's do. We can do the favorite characters, favorite and least favorite character.
Favorite, God. I kind of want to go with Sid, but I kind of want to go. I kind of want to go with, was it Leo? Because he was just, he reminded me of like Jafar, or like just where everybody felt like even the employees were like prisoners. He was just like, man, I'm just here. Like, he was so cool and relaxed. Like when they pulled up on Sid after he took that man, he was like, yeah, man, he took a dude hostage. I was like, what? Where's the excitement? When he shot that dude, he was like, so sign this paperwork. I'm like, welcome to death row, niggas. So I think I'm gonna go with Leo, because like I didn't like him, but he was so unfazed, where his behavior to me made sense in that world, versus Michelle and Sid being like, oh yeah, we just went through this wormhole. Let's rob stuff. Like, what? What do you? So I'm gonna go with Leo for this one. I'm gonna go with Leo. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay. And least favorite?
Probably Wade, if I'm being honest, because she's the one who I think was acting the most out of character. Yeah, because Quinn was annoying, but he was trying to save the girl. Yeah, they did a kiss or whatever. But I think Wade, for all the events of the episode, even that Gladys lady to me was like, okay, I know where I'm at. I have to rein it in. So yeah, I'm gonna just say Wade. Wade is my least favorite of this episode.
Gotcha.
More than Arturo.
So here we go. Here's a shocker. So my favorite character of this episode is the professor.
Oh, hey, I can see it.
It's the professor. He was his normal self, but like I kind of felt like he was on point, right? He was on point with talking shit, just like he kept up with it because he was just upset all the time. And I felt like in this case, like I said, I definitely don't condone. I agree with, I saw both sides of it. I understand why Quinn did what he did, but I also understand why the professor was just like, hey, this ain't our fight to fight, like every episode, right? And then I also respected that they highlighted how much of like he didn't have shit to do with them anymore because he ran through that portal first. He was just like, I don't care what's about to happen. He's like, I know those knots were loose as hell on Sid. He might come running through there. Oh, there he goes. Bye. And I just see he just dipped through that portal. So he's my favorite. Least favorite. I might have to go with see, I don't want to say Wade and kind of double up. There was the guy that had knife guy, like he was all right, so I mean, like, but just to kind of avoid kind of doubling up, I think I might go with him. So what about favorite and least favorite moment?
Favorite moment, I don't know. Every time Quinn got his ass beat by Sid and by the professor. Really, honestly, overall, it was Quinn getting his ass handed to him. Not that he needs to be knocked down a peg, but I think he does. Like this is, and I don't know if continuity is going to keep it consistent, but this is a very real example of, like the professor said, mind your damn business. You try to say everything you do, a woman ends up dead. You got a baby running around that is fatherless. You've now brought this murderer to So I'm gonna say, to be concise, the first moment that Sid pulled out that gun in the hotel or in the hotel prison and hemmed him up. That to me was my favorite. Quinn being hemmed up, because like, you are the reason we're dealing. Everything is your fault. Every single thing that has happened is your fault. Yeah. That man crying and leaving after lottery world, that's your fault. What first variant Wade dying, your fault.
Yeah,
you're terrible. Least favorite. Shit, I don't know because overall I really enjoyed this episode. I don't even think the double cross was bad. Least favorite. I'll probably have to go with the snack scene within the group therapy. Okay. Just because Wade was just, and also throw in there, Gladys was nosy as fuck. You might want to get your hopes up. But first of all, nobody's talking to you, lady. Where's your buddy? Like, the snack scene was that's my least favorite.
So I think my favorite scene might have been the reveal of when LJ was talking with Quinn about this being the city being a penitentiary. Yeah. I thought that was a nice, because like when you see the realization hit Quinn, it's just like, okay, this is why all this stuff is adding up. So I thought that was sorry about that. I think that and I meant to I'm gonna give an honorary favorite to LJ, because I think he did a good job. But because of the way that he kind of delivered that information to Quinn, it worked. So that was my favorite scene. And least favorite, now this is where I am going to double up, was Wade being judgmental as fuck, and just not reading a room or trying to come at this with some kind of deafness or whatever. So I will double up with that. But so what are any final thoughts after talking it out?
I actually enjoyed this episode more than I realized. I think this is one of the, even if it's not the top 5, I think it's kind of like right. It would be like 6 if it's not the top 5, because this was a solid, tight, contained story. I think the ending we got was better. We got a lot of ambiguous endings where, did he build the rocket or the bomb or whatever? But this, no, he's dead. And Leo, who's still tied up, he's dead. Yep. Everybody is dead, actually. So I do like the finality of like, that's what this is. And even though I'm not hopeful about Michelle, I do like that she got that release. Like, she was able to take down Sid, her abuser, groomer, whatever, and she was able to physically escape. Where like, there's no, he's in jail, he might get out in a year. No, he's gone. There's no way he's coming for you again. So I'll say, honestly, great episode.
Gotcha. So the final thoughts. I agree with the main point that you made of the point that you made about this is a tight episode. And there's when people separate, it's for a valid reason. The conflicts that are happening seem natural. Not so much about kind of the relationships possibly, between Quinn and Michelle, but and I like this world, even as kind of messed up as it is, but it is something different, right? Rather than, and like you said, it's contained enough that this will not have an effect on the world at large. Right. There's no effect to this world outside of them getting the fuck out of Dodge. That was it. And I like dark ending sometimes,
Hey.
because this ends like as dark as like the nuclear weapon world that they went to. So I love that, like I said, that he got shot and then they were just like, well, let's just have the biggest earthquake possible. So yeah, I actually I found myself enjoying this more than I thought I would. So I'm gonna let me sound, you gotta bear with me. So out of how many pairs of Temu level smoke and stack LJs, Temu brands,
yo,
stack LJs, are you? How many pairs? How many of those are you rating this episode?
I'm doing a solid 7 Temu stack smoke.
7.
So that, what is that? Is that 14 or is that just 7?
I mean, that might be 15.
No, like, truly, yeah. I'm gonna go with 7. I wanted to do 7.5, but 7 was first to come to mind. I'm gonna stick with 7. Final answer.
I'm gonna go with 8.
Okay,
I'm gonna go with 8.
That's fair.
Because this season so far has been kind of rough. It's just
not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's been kind of rough. So
you're not wrong.
But yeah, so 7 to 8. So yeah. Fun episode. Prison. It's their odds episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I shout out to Jeffrey Dean Morgan. This is this might have been the first thing I think I ever saw him in. And then I know like people know him from Supernatural for being in that. But So that's it for this episode. I'm before we wrap up, I'm gonna sell some ish or whatever, or ask for donations, I guess is the best way. So I write. So recently I write comic books, and recently there was a comic book released called Steam Superheroes, The Chronicles of Nexus. And what it is, it tells a story about a group of scientists, like from a variety of fields in STEAM. So we have a cybersecurity expert, and from engineering, astrophysics, biology, just a lot of different fields of science, and they come together to use their knowledge and know-how to save the world from a billionaire. So yes. We started working on this, like last year. So there you go. But anyways, the book has been released. We'll have the links available where you can go. But the organization is actually called Steam Superheroes, and it's a very awesome nonprofit. And if you go to their website and pledge a donation or reach out to them, they'll get you some copies of the books. But I had a really fun time writing the book, and working with this team of like smart as heck. Like, these are the people who should be running the world. Like, these are the folks who should be running the world. But their love and dedication for spreading the ideals of STEM and STEAM to younger audiences is we hopefully brought that forward with this book.
Good.
And the hope is to do future issues, and I had a good time, and I'm trying to see if I can show some of the artwork. Actually, I can just go.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. All right, action.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that. Hey, that's one thing I always learn. You gotta reel them in from that first page. So you get some like fun sci-fi fantasy action at the beginning, and you get tossed some stuff too. So Steam Superheroes, The Chronicles of Nexus, done for the Steam Superheroes organization, and the website, I'll just say it, is steamsuperheroes.org. Steamsuperheroes.org, but we'll have that link in the show notes. And I'm just I'm hyped. I hope that a lot of people get to read the book.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Y'all heard that, listeners and viewers. Go ahead and get you some Steam. Get them Steam superhero. You got Smoke, you got Stack, you got Steam. You got 3 things that you are supposed to take from this episode.
We didn't plan for none of that. They all came together naturally.
See, come on. Yeah, so go ahead and pledge love little something and get you some steam in your life. That sounds really good. And like I said, that action at the start.
Yeah. I think you'll like it, man. It's a good book.
Good deal. So again, those links will be in the show notes. So listeners, viewers, please make sure you go ahead and peruse. And even if we want you to donate, but if you don't donate, still share the link, get the word out there. Let folks, even if you do donate, still share the link. Shit. So yeah, I don't know, man. This has been a dope episode. This has been a good time, and I'm a little sad because I don't. With the way this show works, the next episode might not be great. So I just you never know with the slide.
Yep.
Fuck. So I don't know. Let the people know where, in addition to Steam Superheroes, where they can find you and support you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me. Our website is robertkjeffrey.com, robertkjeffrey.com, and it's undergone a revamp. So check it out. Peruse and see all the stuff that's there. And on Instagram, robertk.jeffrey.
That. Yes, listeners, make sure that you follow Robert and show some love. And of course, hit me up anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You'll see that big old C. It should be purple or maybe white, depending on which app you use. I don't know, but do that. Twitter and TikTok, I believe, is Carefree Blurred, and then IG and YouTube, Carefree Black Nerd. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Follow us and all that good shit. Let us know what your thoughts are. Watch the show right along with us. Get Steam, Stack, and Smoke, and Sincere, and whoever else. Hell. And next time, stay carefree, stay nerdy, stay geeky, and watch Sinners. Get Steam Superheroes, and if you go to a prison world, stay low. Don't die.
Right. Just stay in the hotel. Just stay in the hotel. So.
Yes, please. God damn. Shit. All right, y'all. Don't go to jail. All right.